Welcome to the Upshift podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. And today's guest is Raven Alvarez. She is the CEO and founder of Seraphine Spa. But I love this girl so much. She's got so much to share with us. So welcome, Raven. Welcome so much to the Upshift, where you will be telling our listeners today of the difference that you have made because of your own struggle with burnout. And I do want to mention that this girl, this gal, this lovely woman still is a rock star, but I mean, she was buying businesses and shucking and jiving like, woo, hot mama. And that takes a lot of effort. So welcome, Raven, and tell us a little bit about you and bridge the gap for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Angel. I'm so happy to be here. Wow, I am the queen of burnout.
The queen of
That's
well, maybe that's your new title.
that's my worst title, but it is down there at the bottom of my resume. So yeah, I've been a serial entrepreneur for many years. And at some point I did what I thought was a hack and go from, because I was a health coach for 25 years, or more than 25, and working with clients one-on-one and teaching them how to slow down and rest and listen to their bodies. And while I was telling them all that, I was in a whole different lane with my own behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. Were you that coach?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Funny enough, I wasn't that mom. I was pretty consistent with my momming, but my coaching was very I usually go off the deep end, come back with terrible examples of what not to do for folks. So that's helpful.
You
But
lived it, huh? What,
yeah.
so let me ask you, what drove you very quickly? What was the drive? Why was enough not enough?
Interestingly, my coaching business, while I had that going for many years, so I have a really huge passion for health and wellness, like really huge passion. My mother passed from cancer when I was 8. I've been studying wellness and medicine and health and diet and every possible natural hack to be healthy since I was a really little kid, trying to understand life and death. Why are we alive? Why are we dead? What is this body for? And everything.
Yeah.
And so I always had a soft spot for people with their issues. And a lot of times people who are going through health issues don't have the most amount of money to be able to do things. So I was that coach, that person who was always like, oh, that's okay. If you don't have it, that's fine. And I would still be giving away like hours and hours and hours a day of my time,
Wow.
and often getting and doing work for people for free, helping people with the C, with diabetes, with Crohn's disease, with fibroids, with like all kinds of issues, and never asking for and never receiving enough in return for what for the time I was spending, because it was that passionate. It mattered to me more that they got well than I got paid. And
Yeah.
that's not balance.
No. Can't help it can't help your own health and
Yeah.
esteem and everything. So, okay, what happened?
So I burned out.
What did that look like?
Oh, I felt it everywhere. I was going through emotional burnout, deep depression, physical burnout, exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, just different symptoms in my body. And it was so tough. And I decided at some point, just going through financial burnout as well, because I didn't have enough money to, enjoy my family the way I wanted to. It just burnout on every level.
Mhm.
And so what I decided to do was throw out the baby with the bathwater and just completely quit my coaching business and throw it all away, turn around and just completely focus on myself and getting money. And that was where and so I started this money journey in 2018. And I was just completely focused on what was going to bring me the most amount of finance, the most amount of cash, and the least amount of time to make up for all the, effort that I had given away. And so I hired a business coach. I paid a business coach 5 figures, which at the time was, massive for me.
Yeah.
Went out on a limb and did that. And to teach me how to buy businesses. And then eventually I paid the same coach 6 figures in order to teach me the really deep ins and outs of mergers, acquisitions, everything to do with that. So while I was on my spiritual money journey, I was actually learning all the tools to be able to acquire businesses and do that like really quickly. And
Wow.
so that made a huge shift in my work. And so I was like, I'm all about the money now, forget this. And I'm not that old Raven anymore. And I was still on the same old burnout burnout cycle. So some of you I brought with me. Funny enough. So after it took about 2.5 years. It's never as fast as they tell you on YouTube or, Instagram reels. The process of buying businesses is not sudden. It's not fast. There are definitely steps that need to be
Yeah.
taken. And it took me, 2.5 years from the time I first learned until I bought my first business. And lo and behold, what was my first business? Because I tried to buy 6 businesses, and for different reasons, there were some that were successful, there were some that were semi-successful with partners. And the first one that I bought that was all my own with my own money was a wellness business. So I
Hateful.
found myself
Hateful. Hmm.
found myself right back where I was trying to run away from, and that was a lesson as well. Like you have to go where you belong, in life.
So you went from burnout to financial health, a healthy financial life, but still felt maybe you weren't quite all there. So now bridge us into what happened, how did you know, and what did you do?
I was still feeling the same thing. I still felt the same imbalance. I still felt the same imbalances in my body. I still felt the same imbalance in my marriage. I got married during that time when I was doing my big abundance, glow up. I got married. We had a fabulous, amazing wedding, and it was a great first year. And then as I was going deeper in the business, like with this unrelenting drive to succeed in business and to make my first million, I realized that like my children, I was in the house with them and they were like, wow, mom, I miss you. And I was like, wow, my kids miss me. Like I work from home. Oh, that's my flex. I work from home. I'm here. I get to be with my kids. And I didn't even realize like that I was physically present, but I was not present in any other way for my marriage. I wasn't showing up for my marriage, for myself, or for my kids. And that was what I like realizing how bad I needed that reflected back to me. So my children are very honest. I've taught them to be brutally honest, kind, but brutally honest. And so they definitely put that right back in my face and let me
So it
know.
sounds like a family intervention. Like
Yeah.
they sat you down and said, "This is who you are right now, and it's not working for us."
Yeah, pretty much. And it
Yeah.
wasn't even so much in one moment. It was more over time, the little jabs, the little incessant jabs, like, yeah, I sure would like to have breakfast with mom, but she's busy. And,
Oh, wow.
those type of
Yeah.
things.
So what was the tipping point finally? Just enough of these kind of like, okay, I got to listen to this. What was the tipping point?
I think it was when things started to really go badly in my marriage. And for a while working, and because my husband and I work together, like this spa, for example, we built this spa. My husband's very handy. And so I have a kind of, interior design vision. And I was doing the bookkeeping and the accounting and designing the space. I did the interior design. And so I would be like, I think we should put this kind of chandelier. And he'd be like, oh, we're going to need to rip down the wall and put this and do that. And I'm like, no, that's the vision. We have to make it happen. So he would do all this physical stuff. So we were really in this thing together. We really grew it from the ground up together, finding investors, getting things together. But personally, because I was so far in my masculine energy that it was such a struggle to relate to him. So at the end of a workday where I was like on and go and making all the decisions and deciding and telling everybody else what to do, I couldn't switch off later on. And I thought I was nice because I'm like fun and friendly. So like, what do you mean? Like just put it over there. And it wasn't being received in the lighthearted way that I meant it. It was kind of pushy. And I and I was becoming bossy, not just a boss.
So would you say you were living in your head, maybe not in your body, not feeling the sensations? Because the heart and the body would tell you something's up, but the head, like, just keep going, just ignore it and
Yeah,
keep going. So you're living in your head,
exactly.
which is a Not a good place to live if you're trying to have a relationship or mother,
Yes.
be in our body.
Exactly, exactly. Or enjoy life, period.
There
You
you
can't
go.
when you're on
Yeah.
the unrelenting pursuit of anything, it's just like you're just not enjoying the ride at that point.
Yeah, I was just had this conversation on another podcast. It's like chasing the thing outside of you. It's like it's never enough. That's the
Yes.
drive. The drive
Yeah.
comes from wanting to have more, wanting to be more, wanting to look better, wanting to this, to that, the whatever, want more, want more. You can never have enough of the external things, but it's
Yeah.
chasing that joy inside. Like if at 5 o'clock, it's like, all right, we're done with this. Now it's
Mm.
joy time. And what does that look
Yes.
like? Fun dance party with the kids. Yay.
Yeah.
So what did you do? So here you are, you're successful again. You've got this wonderful spa that you're building together, which on the outside would seem like, oh, what a great couple. But then behind closed doors, it's like, no, because I'm still in management head. I'm managing my
Yes.
marriage.
Yes.
And so something happened, or how did you shift that? Because it's hard to leave the drive for a minute even.
Yeah. And then especially it's hard to leave the drive when you become so goal oriented and you become so obsessed, wrapped up in your own goals that until you hit the next goal. And then after you hit that goal, they're like goals are endless. Goals never, ever, ever stop. As soon as one is accomplished, this is like a myth that we live by so often in this modern world. As soon as one goal is accomplished, all it does is arrive you at a place where it bursts open a seed, where spores of all the other new things that has given birth to open up for you. And so you're like, oh, wow, I did that, but that just opened that and that and that and that possibility. Which one should I go after? And it just, yeah, you can go on endlessly forever.
So how did you stop? How did you move from that?
I had to force myself. I actually went through like a really bad burnout stage. And all of this that I'm talking about is pretty recent. Like the spa has been open for a year and 2 months now. We celebrated in July. We celebrated our 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And in July of this year, so we opened in July of last year of 2024. In July of this year, I got in a horrible car accident. A horrible hit a wall going 80 miles an hour, hit a meridian
Oh my
at
god.
80 miles an hour. The car almost flipped over because I was on an overpass. It almost flipped over the overpass. And so I was definitely down for a month, which is, not bad considering how bad the accident was. But it's like those moments, it's the cliche, how when that moment comes and just knocks you down and you have to sit down. If you don't slow down, life will slow you down. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, but let's take that
Mhm.
because I was thinking the same thing.
Mm,
But what were the clues that either your body or life through your body, whatever, was giving you that you were ignoring so much so that God or the great powers or whatever had to say, okay, you're not going to slow down. We're going to slow you down.
yes.
What were
Mm.
what were the warning signs that you ignored?
So one of the major ones, and actually that was something that we had spoken about earlier, but let me see, I started menopause a few years ago, and going through this cycle of being constantly in my masculine energy really, really, really exacerbated the symptoms of my menopause. So I was having severe hot flashes. I was miserable in my body. And for somebody who's super healthy, who's somebody who knows like the labs, I know the balance, it's still for me to be going at the level that I was going, it just wasn't, adrenal burnout. When we go into menopause, like we need our adrenals, we need like there are certain things that in our bodies shift to produce the right, level of hormones and everything to balance for us. And if we move with our body in the way that it needs to in that season, sometimes we can get some symptoms, some women get none. I did not move in balance with my body at all. So I got all the symptoms. I got everything happen. And so, yeah, so things like that, just not being able to sleep at night. I was having severe, severe insomnia. I couldn't unwind even when I was ready to. So then I would, have a glass of wine at night or, I was taking melatonin for a while and just trying different things to relax, but they weren't relaxing me because I wasn't listening to my body and slowing down.
And
I would work
so,
until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Let me just finish this one more thing. I always
oh,
had one more thing I was going to finish. And my
wow.
body was stretched to the max. Yeah, and my body was not about the one more thing.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. It's like our mind will justify anything, but the body says, "No, we won't." But then we don't listen. You didn't listen. Like something's wrong here. So then life, however you wanted to label it, took you out. I mean, like we're gonna put you in bed, baby.
Yes.
And so there was there you woke up on this, in a bed, and you were, I don't know, I can't imagine what happened then, what went through your head, and then how did you get from that, and I'm sorry you had an accident, to where you are now?
It was exactly the turnaround that I needed, and I kind of received it, I was like, "All right, universe. All right. You win. I hear you." Like I completely I wasn't like, "Oh, poor me." I received it exactly as what it was. The interesting thing on the flip side of that, because I study biohacking and all these different things. So we offer different biohacking services here, things like exosomes. We're looking into stem cell therapy, which we'll be having soon. And I had just connected manufacturer of exosomes, like a really high quality, amazing exosomes. And we offer IV drips here at the spa. So I was doing exosome IV drips. And within the first 4 days of the accident, and I had a concussion, I had severe whiplash. Within the first 4 days of the accident, I had no pain. Like I was in no pain. So it took longer to get over the emotional shock of the accident than to actually be in physical distress over it because my body healed that quickly. But in that time, so my body healed quickly, but my mind was like, wow, this really was the wake up call. Like, when you stare down the tube of your goals, like I could have lost my life. Like I'm rushing so hard that I'm going to lose my life. So what would happen to the business then? It's that question. When you ask yourself, what happens when you're not around? Because the week that I took off to deal with the accident, to just be, I didn't think about the business. I didn't make any directions. I didn't answer anybody who had a question for me. Hey, what should we do about this? Oh, this client needs that. And I was like, you guys, you have to figure it out, guys.
Okay, so
I'm gonna. Mhm.
let me ask you this. Did you go out of business just because you took a week and let everybody else pull their weight?
Exactly. I sure didn't.
No, okay. That was the message. That was
Yes,
the
it
message.
was. Yes, it was.
And, that's a little bit about detachment too, and allowing, you hire good people, allowing them to take the weight.
Yeah.
So that's also about delegating. People that are overachievers like you, it's about delegating. But I think let's switch back to the health part of it, because so you discovered during this time some of the things that you're doing at your spa now really helped you physically come back. And
Yeah.
so now with that knowledge, your focus and your drive is where? What are you driven now to do?
That's such a great question. I am really driven for balance. I'm really driven to move at a pace where whatever balance is needed in the moment, the answer to that comes to me first before I make any action, before I take any steps, make any choices, make any decisions for the day. And this is like an everyday thing now. I pause. I just lean into each day with what what's balanced. And so when I need to rest, I rest. I haven't, since the accident, I haven't felt guilty not one time. And as many of us have experienced growing up with parents who were also overachievers, and they pass on their overachieving. My parents went to Ivy League schools. I was expected to excel in education. I was expected to excel in life. And you either respond by becoming a dropout, a burnout, or you just live to the standard and salute and you overachieve, and until something comes along and knocks you down. And so I did learn that everybody doesn't need me, everything doesn't need me, and nothing needs me more than I need myself. So what do I need for myself today? And I pause and I give myself whatever is needed, whether it's rest, time with my daughters, and not giving time even for them, not giving time because they want it, giving time because I want to spend time with them.
Yeah, so
I was so in my head. I was out
yeah,
of touch with the desire for that.
how are your relationships now?
Definitely much better.
Yeah, like
Definitely
being
much better.
present with them, being
Yeah.
fully there. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know that we talked about menopause. It's for you because we women go through it, whether you want to or not, you're going to go through it somehow,
Yes.
some way. And you
Yes.
have some wonderful ways of dealing with that at your spa, but also I think you do some nutritional
Yes,
support. You do a holistic support for those going through menopause. Am I right?
I do. Yeah.
And we talked also about blood. Like people don't even know they've got symptoms and they don't even know that's a menopause symptom. And so you can treat. It's treatable. It's all treatable. So tell us about your point of view with menopause and where you are now with that process, and then what you have at your spa that's maybe different, a different way of handling people's symptoms.
Yeah. It's really, really important. There's so many myths about menopause. Oh my gosh, there's so many myths. And then we have the myths on one side, and then we have the total lack of understanding on another side. And then just this sliver of education that we have, had to grind and fight for practically because science has just not out of convenience and finance, it just hasn't been on our side really. So it's been very difficult journey for women as a whole to learn, to understand our bodies. There's a standard that they'll try to put you on. Well, this is the average age. If when I started menopause at 51, and they say, oh, well, that's normal. It's anytime between, this age and this. And it's not a standardized thing. It's based on your body. If your body is more of a athletic, muscular type with a higher testosterone to estradiol ratio, for example, your menopause is expected based on your own biology to be later on in life. So when I did labs from a woman who is like a huge, huge a doctor who's a huge advocate of menopause research, she said, you actually shouldn't have even gone into menopause until you were about 60 based on all of your blood labs. So the fact that you're in menopause at 51, that's early menopause, which means you now need to look at what did you do, what things are happening in your behaviors, in your diet, in your patterns that brought it on early. So other people are like, oh, that's not early onset menopause, you're 51, that's fine. And for me, it was too early. And it
Yeah.
was the adrenal burnout was
Okay. I was
one
going to say,
huge
you think
thing.
it was stress?
Marital difficulties, things like that, and I think they've come up with a stat now that I think the highest rates of divorce happen around the time when women are going through menopause.
Oh,
We
sure.
we have brain fog, we have difficulty with emotions.
Well, I mean, I tell people we have hormones that are coursing through our body, running everything from the time we're born. It's the X chromosome. And why there's not more research, I don't know. But and women friends even shuck and jive a little bit during menopause because we get a little bitchy because things don't make sense and we lose control over our bodies, over our emotions, over our depression, over our elation, over our sex drive, over everything. And it all has to do with these things that are running around our body that can be controlled, but
Mhm.
if you don't know, wreak havoc. I mean, it's and dotty people, women get like the brain fog, like you say, they get forgetful. I
Yeah,
mean, and of course, it's stressful on a relationship when the person you married or are partnering with, is all of a sudden it's like they're reacting differently, and it's
turning
out of
into
their
a whole other
control.
person.
Yes, it's out of their control. So, what do you do for that?
In the years of healing that I've done with clients, with health coaching, I always dive into the emotional and the spiritual and emotional first. And because spiritual and emotional guides behavioral. So we always address those first, because if you don't shift the behaviors, if you don't shift the spiritual emotional factors underlying, you won't shift the behaviors. And it's the behaviors that guide the outcomes that we get. So on those are on one end, and then on the other end we have the biochemistry. So I think it's always extremely important to get labs. We're one of the only places in the United States, one of the only med spas that offers blood labs right on site. So we have like nails, we have a full service nail salon, we have a full service hair salon, and then we also have blood labs, and then we also have body contouring and lymphatic drainage. And so we have everything here built under one thing, because we're whole people, we're whole beings. All of these things need to be checked. When we're doing a Japanese head spa here, for example, and a woman is complaining that her hair is starting to thin at the edges here, that's not just, oh, hey, well, let's put some hair dye on it or something. Like, it's what do you have going on underneath there? Hey, why not pop down the hall and get labs done and see? Because the our head spa estheticians are trained to look for signs of hormonal imbalances, for vitamin deficiencies and things like that. So when they're doing a scalp analysis, they're not just checking for if your hair is dry or if it's, in good condition. They're checking for underlying things that we can also address, because beauty is always the last factor with whatever's going on inside of our bodies.
Yeah. Wow. So you're a full service med spa. And you do things like microneedling and when you say
Yeah.
exosomes, you put the exosomes on microneedling afterwards to
Yeah.
really plump it up. I know
Yeah.
that's for collagen because we lose our estrogen production and all of a sudden our skin starts to sag. And
Yeah.
plastic surgeons will tell you the only way to deal with saggy skin is to cut it. And I know that this
Yes.
deep microneedling and exosomes can help.
Yeah,
So
huge help.
what can you,
Peptides, exosomes.
yeah, what can you tell? All right, what can you tell listeners? How do they start this journey on helping themselves? Like they've
Mhm.
got stuff going on, it's out of control. Where do they go? I mean, can they call you? You're in Florida,
Yeah,
right?
I am.
But
Yeah.
I mean, do
I
you do
do. We still do virtual consultations.
you do?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
like a telehealth person.
Yeah.
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 Huh. Well, okay. So then they can call you, and if they need to see somebody in their town, what's your suggestion?
The first thing is to get the education to find out what labs, and I can do a virtual consultation with anybody and at least let them know what labs they want to ask for. Because when we walk into our doctors, the most important thing is to walk in informed. We cannot expect doctors to have all the answers for us. We have to know what's going on in our body, have some sense of what the cause of these things are. Not everything. We don't all have to go to med school for 8 years in order to understand our body, but just to have a basic understanding of like the root of our symptoms. And then that way we can know what to go in and ask. So we have like lists of labs. We have symptoms and we have certain labs that go with those. Almost always, like you said, our hormones have been guiding us since birth, like or since before birth. So the hormone labs, doing hormone panels and blood panels is the most important thing, because we can get in there, we can take a good look at what's going on, and then finding out based on lifestyle, diet, even, how late people go to bed, what type of job they have. All of these things are all other factors, but the biochemical is a really deep important factor.
All right then. So how do we find you?
So you can find me on at seraphinespa.com.
Spell
And
Seraphine real quick, just so that,
sure, yes, it's
okay.
SeraphineSpa.com. So
Seraphine. And
seraphinespa.com.
yeah. And then Raven, can they look you up? And then, I mean, if they don't remember that and they remember Raven Alvarez, I mean, how else can they find you to set up maybe a consultation?
Sure. We can go to Instagram as well. You can find us on Facebook, Seraphine Wellness and Beauty. Look us up. And my personal Instagram is the Raven Alvarez. So THEE, Raven Alvarez. And you can come and find me. You'll see all my family, my lovely husband and family.
And we'll know what they've been through. And the family's together, and we love that. Totally love that. Well, Raven, thank you so much. It was a wealth of information and inspiring too, because you really went up a hill, down a hill, and up a hill, and now you're right there in the middle of the road and
Yeah.
cruising. And we're all
Yes.
happy for that.
Sitting in the balance.
Yes, and the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Angela. Thank you. I
Raven.
appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Wow, thanks to Raven. She really opened my eyes to a lot of things that, especially us women, deal with as we get older. The whole menopause thing and being out of control of our hormones. And that coupled with anxiety of pushing ourselves too hard and not taking that time out for ourselves and experiencing burnout. So thank you, Raven. And thank you all for listening. I am your host, Angel Howard, and you're listening to The Upshift, where thought leaders and change makers come forward and share with us what they're doing. And we learn. We learn and we go back into our lives with a positive ripple effect. If you want to know more about somatic therapy and the chakra mental method, get my book, Issues in Your Tissues, on Amazon. Or book a discovery call with me. An email, angel@angelhoward.co, or just go on my website, angelhoward.co, and book a discovery call. I'd love to talk to you. Until next time.